Hello, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Align and Confident Dating podcast. I am your host, Colette Gallagher, and I am so excited because today we're going to be talking about what to do if there is a rough patch in your relationship. I feel like this happens with pretty much every couple where you're dating, things had been going really well, and for the most part, you're working through challenges, and then slowly but surely, things start to go a little downhill, and then fear starts to set in, and you're wondering what happened, why aren't things the way they used to be, and all of your stuff starts coming up. You are seeing things through this lens, and you're like, what happened? Things were going so well, and now it's just like every other time, or something like that. So, I just want to reassure you that if this is happening to you, you're not alone. It's super common and you can get through it, especially if you're with a good person, somebody who's good for you, then who wants to work it out with you and who wants to work through things. Then you can definitely get through a rough patch in your relationship. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So grab your tea and get comfy and let's get started. I've actually had this come up a lot with people I've been talking to as well, where they're not sure if they should stay or if they should go, and they love their partner and their partner loves them, but things just aren't the way that they were, and now they're kind of in this dark place, this rough patch. And so what I've been telling them is what I'm going to tell you, which is one, start to focus on the things that you really like about the relationship, because there's always something to complain about. There's always something that's not perfect. There's always something that you'd like to maybe change if you could. But if you focus on those things, you're going to find more of them. But if you switch it and go back to why you found your partner attractive in the first place, what you liked about them, and what's good about them, and you start focusing on those things, you're going to find that there's more of those to focus on. So focus on the good qualities of your partner, even if you're super frustrated with them right now, even if maybe they're not, behaving the way you would like them to behave. Go back to the things that are actually great about your partner and start to just think about all of those things and every single day. I believe love is a choice, and you make it every single day by what your thoughts are and how you're treating the person and how you're behaving towards them. So I believe every single day you get to choose to love your partner, and focusing on those positive qualities about them is one of the best ways to love your partner, and being grateful for everything that they actually do for you instead of focusing on the things that they don't do is a great way to just love your partner. So another thing you want to do is start to notice the patterns that are happening. So maybe this is something like you're on your way somewhere and then someone says something and the other person takes it the wrong way and gets offended or gets upset. And then this blame game starts happening. Oh, why do you always do this? Why can't you do this? Or something like that. There's some kind of pattern that happens, and you don't really know why it starts and you don't really know why it keeps going. And you just know that there's this pattern. So what you want to do is take a look at that. So what's the trigger for each of you? Because you probably each have different triggers or different things that upset you. And maybe it's just that you're thinking your partner means one thing when they actually mean something completely different. So noticing what is actually triggering you, how you're feeling in that moment, how you're feeling about the situation, and if it's actually something your partner is doing, or if it's actually your interpretation or you being triggered by something that has nothing to do with your partner. So, for example, maybe you're feeling unsupported. So, maybe just in general, you're feeling unsupported. And maybe that's because you go to work and you feel like, your boss is just telling you what a terrible job you're doing all the time. So you're not feeling supported at work. And then maybe you try to go tell your friends your problems and they don't want to hear you because, they have their own problems. So then you go home or you go out on a date with your partner and they don't want to hear, maybe they had a rough day and they're tired and stressed out. And so they say something like, oh, let's just talk about something else. Or just something, that triggers that feeling of unsupport in you. And now, even though they meant like nothing of the sort, you're feeling unsupported by your partner when really it's just because you're just feeling unsupported in general. And it has nothing to do with your partner. They're just triggering the feelings that are already inside of you. So, starting to be aware of your patterns and starting to be aware of what sets off the arguments and what sets off the fights and how you're viewing the situation. Super important, especially during a rough patch in your relationship. So, one thing you want to make sure that you do during a rough patch or just basically in general in your relationship is that you want to make sure your partner associates you with positive experiences. So we're all kind of like Pavlov's dogs. If you don't know what Pavlov's dogs are, it's just an experiment that this guy Pavlov did, and he trained the dogs to, do things for food. And so he noticed that there's triggers when they press the button, they would salivate, and so they would start salivating when they knew the food was coming, and so there's just certain triggers, there's just certain things that people do. They associate things with other things. So you want to make sure that your partner associates you with positive experiences. And so if you guys are fighting all the time, when they think of you, they're going to think of negative things. And so you want to rewire that. So if you've been coming together and every time you're together, you're starting a fight, things aren't going very well, they're not really going to be associating you with positive things. And so you want to do whatever you can on your part to change that. So I know this happened to me in a relationship where we were just constantly fighting. And I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And so I changed myself. So when that person would do the things that would trigger me, I just wouldn't react. And I would just be positive and I would um, try to switch the situation, and it worked. And so I just recommend that. And just to be aware that you can change patterns by your behavior. And then eventually, you could say, I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to have fun with you. Like, let's see if we can just, have fun again together. And then don't take things personally. Like, maybe you were taking things personally. Maybe you were getting triggered before. So now you want to just rewind. You want to go back to how you were in the beginning, because in the beginning of the relationship, you probably weren't taking things personally. You probably weren't overthinking everything. You probably weren't analyzing everything that the person does. Whereas now you're trying to think about everything, you're analyzing what do they mean by that, or like, oh, well, last time we were together, they did this. So you start to have all of these, um, you know, you're overthinking things, you're analyzing it, and you're not having fun anymore. So if you're going through a rough patch, you really want to go back to just having fun together, just however you can. So maybe that's trying something new. Maybe that is doing something exciting. Getting the adrenaline pumping when you do something with someone where there's adrenaline. Then they associate you with those feelings. So going on a roller coaster or riding dirt bikes or whatever it is, just something that's a little scary. Go-kart racing. Doing that together, or even a new experience, something you haven't done before, do it together. And they'll associate that positive feelings of the new experience with you. So you definitely want to rewire these patterns where you're coming together and now they associate you with a negative experience. So even when you're coming in happy, because they already have these associations that hanging out with you is not going to be fun anymore, you want to reprogram that back to, okay, when I see this person, we have fun together. So you want to start incorporating like new fun experiences and new memories to override those old programs. One thing you want to start doing if you're having a rough patch is to just let go of expectations. So, expectations are just a huge killer of relationships. When you start to expect the person to do things for you, when you start to expect them to behave a certain way, when you expect them to react, when you expect them to hold space exactly as you want it, that's when problems arise. So, if you can just, for the time being, release the anger and the frustration and the pain, and just let go of all expectations of that person. And I know this can be challenging if they, you got used to them doing things for you, or you got used to them being a certain way, or whatever it is. Just let go of all expectations, whether good or bad. So let go of expectations of them being mean, let go of them expectations of them fighting with you, but also let go of expectations of, oh, they have to show up a certain way, or they have to do this for me, or it means this. That's what really gets us in trouble in relationships, is when we start having these expectations that now there's demands that this person has to meet, otherwise we don't feel loved, or that means something about the relationship because they're not meeting our expectations. And so you want to just go get to a place where you just have no expectations from the person. So I mean, this doesn't mean that you let them hit you or anything like that, like no abuse, of course, but like assuming that it's generally a healthy relationship, that you just let go of the expectations for the time being and just see what shows up and be with that, and let go of, all of those things, because that just really creates tension and drama and disappointment when you have expectations of what they're going to do. And just be grateful. Go back to that gratitude for however they're showing up, whatever they're experiencing with you. So another thing, you don't want to take anything personally. So this kind of goes with the expectations. You don't want to take anything personally right now. So if you're going through a rough patch and you're trying to save the relationship, you decide you want to be with this person, stop taking anything personally, because really in life, nothing is personal. We're all going through things, even your partner. We're all experiencing things. We all have stress in our life. We all have work, and we all have other relationships. We all have other things going on in our life. And so nothing is really personal. How they're treating you isn't personal. It's just how they're reacting to a situation. And then we take it personally. So if your partner, maybe they're not talking as much as they usually do, and now you're thinking, oh, they don't want to talk to me. You're taking it personally, and that causes a lot of challenges. So if you can just let go of just taking anything personally and just allowing them to be how they are, and just saying, okay, this is how they are right now. I'm not going to put a meaning to it. I'm not going to decide that this is what it means. I'm just going to allow them to just be. And then maybe you need to take a step away, right? Because maybe how they're being isn't, conducive to happiness. So maybe you step away, maybe you take some space, maybe you go hang out with your friends for a few days or something like that. And then you come back and you hang out again and see what happens. But I find that taking things personally is a big stressor in relationships. So just look at that. What are you taking personally? What are you deciding that they're doing against you, or they're doing it because, they're trying to hurt you. And just letting all of that go and just saying, like, okay, this is how they're being right now, and it has nothing to do with me. And just seeing what that changes in your life, in your relationship. Another thing you want to do in a rough patch is you want to ask questions. So it goes along with the not taking things personally and not having expectations, but it's really getting curious and diving into it with this curiosity of, what does this mean, or what else could this mean, or is this true? What I'm thinking about this situation really true? What are the actual facts here? And then where am I putting my own personal beliefs or my own personal desires and experiences into this situation or past experiences? So just getting really curious and asking questions, or even asking questions of your partner. So instead of assuming, like, oh, they're mad, or assuming that they're upset, maybe they're just hanging out, right? So maybe they're just chilling watching TV, and because they're not talking to you, you're like, oh, they're mad. So instead of doing that, asking them, hey, what's going on? How you feeling? But like with actual curiosity, without blame or shame or anything like that. Just getting curious about what's actually present and what is actually going on with your partner and what's actually going on with you. How are you feeling? Asking questions about yourself. How am I feeling right now? How am I reacting to this situation? Is this me showing up as my best self right now? So just asking questions and getting super curious about what's happening, and that opens up possibilities to see things in a different way. Lastly, I just want to talk about letting go. So if you're going through this rough patch in a relationship, maybe you're trying to control things. You're trying to control the outcome. Maybe you're trying to control the person so they don't leave you, or you're trying to control them so that they treat you different, or you're just trying to take control of the situation in general. Um, is it possible to step back and just breathe and let go of control and um, let go of wanting things to be a certain way? Yeah, you just want to let go of controlling things, trying to control your partner, trying to control what they do, try to controlling what they say. Just letting it go, letting go of trying to control anything, trying to control whether you stay together or not. Just letting go of all of that and seeing what happens. And then letting go of trying to please your partner. So a lot of times in relationships, we're trying really hard to like be this person that's lovable, or we want them to please us. And so if we can let go of trying really hard to make them happy and to do things that please them, but then they're never happy and then we get frustrated. So again, patterns in relationships. And so those are common, trying to control things and trying to please your partner and then getting frustrated because it doesn't work. Those are just two really common relationship patterns. So letting those go and just allowing your partner to be how they feel, whether that they're miserable or they're happy. That's awesome. And just letting that be what it is without you trying to fix it or change it or control it, and see what happens. So I invite you to try all of these things and play with them and take what works and let go of what doesn't, and just see what changes in your relationship. And I would love to answer any questions that you have, so feel free to send me a message or join my Facebook group, and I will see you next time. Have an amazing day.